Oh, good morning, my Teaserking family. How is everybody today? I am fine. Hope everybody is well. So the Putin and Trump meeting was yesterday. Don't know why. Trump couldn't do a damn thing to end the war. You're never going to get a ceasefire from Russia. Why would you? They've already won the war. They have no interest in ceasefiring. It's like what I say with fair trade. It's got to be good for both sides. So I'm going to sell something for steak and I'm going to sell it for $10 and you feel the $10 is good. And the guy selling the steak feels that he got a fair amount for it. But at $25 for the steak, um, the the buyer doesn't feel it's a fair trade. He won't do it. So what did we have there? We had nothing. There was nothing that Trump could offer to be a fair trade for Putin. Trump wasn't officially authorized to do anything. He probably went for some other arms deal or some oil deal or something, making it sound like he's going to do the war, but there's no way he did the war. And that's why Putin would go if it was a business deal. But Trump's really useless. He's becoming, the more you hear of the dumber he seems to be getting with these tariffs. And well, why would Putin meet with them? You're putting me on sanctions. You're tariffing me. What is Trump's end game there? Um, so I don't really know what that is that he would do that. But anyway, that's what I see. So it's it's not. There was no Trump can't go into war and say, "Oh, well, Ukraine's going to give you this." Well, he's not in charge of Ukraine. Uh, he could promise, "Hey, NATO won't go into Ukraine." That's about all he could do if he has that authority, which we don't know what Trump has. He seems like just a big idiot. I mean, I never liked him from The Apprentice. My friend asked me, "Well, who would you vote for?" I didn't vote because I don't like government. And I don't like either of them. I says, "Well, I couldn't vote for Kamala Harris. She's communist." So I said, "Well, I guess I would have had to vote for Trump, but after hearing Trump, I wouldn't have voted for, that's why I didn't vote for anybody. These are our options to run our country or heckle and jekyll. It's really pathetic. Anyway, so we'll get into that a little bit later. Let's go to baseball. Yesterday's games, we start off with Milwaukee on their 12-game winning streak. We're down 5 or 6 to nothing and win the game 10-8. They just can hit. So that was our lock. That was 5 units, and it'll be a lock today. Philly wins 6-2. We had Philly. We have Texas, which loses to Toronto 6-5. Boston over 8. Let's see. Atlanta beats Cleveland. Boston over. No, doesn't get there. We have Houston. They get shut out by Baltimore 7-0 with Framber Valdez on the mound. Jesus Christ. Detroit over 9, scores 5 in the first inning off of a terrible pitcher. And this old guy had pitched against them last week and gave up 4 runs in 1 inning. So I knew they'd score, but Detroit can't hit anymore. Minnesota gets shut out, so that didn't work. The Yankees do win 4-3 over St. Louis. We have San Diego over the Dodgers. They lose 3-2. And then we have Tampa over the 49ers, and they do win. And again, that was the streak bet. The Niners have lost 5 or 6 in a row. So San Diego's streak ends. And we still have Milwaukee. So that was yesterday. So we go 2-2-2, 2-4, 4-4. We go 4-5 yesterday. But we hit the 5 unit, Milwaukee, and the rest were 2 units. So not too bad. So we win 5, we win 7, 5, 3, 1. -1, +1, -1, plus. So we go +1 in that. All right, so let's look at today. 220 Pirates and the Cubbies. Mike Burrow 1-4, 4.66. Otaga Imanaga 8-5 with a 3.19. He used to have a 2 ERA, so now it's 3.9, which means he's been pitching 5 because it had to climb up there. Not sure what to do with that game, but I'm not sure if Pirates were on a losing streak, but I don't remember who won yesterday. So we'll check the streaks in a minute. Texas and Toronto. Well, Texas's streak's over. Toronto, good team. Patrick Corbin 6-8 with the 4 ERA. Eric Lauer 7-2 with the 2.82. I'm going to go with Toronto. Just we like the pitcher, 2 units. Philly, Washington. I think Philly's on a winning streak. I know they won. Taiwan Walker, 4-5, 3.39. Cade Cavallia, 0-0 with a 3.86. I like Philly here. You got to watch these teams at home and on the road. Detroit's much better at home than the road. A lot of teams, depends. Some might be better on the road. Seattle is. So you got to see where they're playing. But, we'll go with Philly. Cavaldi's 0-0 with a 3.86. Seattle and the Mets. Seattle has been hitting the hell out of the ball. 68-55. The Mets have been losing 64-58. Brian Rue, Ric Flair, 10-6, 3.08 against Nolan McLean. Who the hell is that? So I'm going to go with Ric Flair. Brian Rue's 2 units. See, here's where I bet the pitchers, not the streaks, but Seattle's playing well. Miami and Boston, what was expected to be a high-scoring game with 2 bad pitchers, 5 ERAs, and it's 2-1. Oh, God, I love it. Cal Quantrill for Miami, 4-9 with the 5.09. Brian Bello, 8-6 with the 3.25. I have a hunch on Boston here for 2 units. Milwaukee, Cincinnati. There's let's see who's pitching. Quinn Priester, 11-2, 3.49. Zach Littell, 9.8. We're going Milwaukee, and we'll go 5 units again, as they're on a 50-game winning streak. Just put them down. They'll go 110-44. Cincinnati had them yesterday and let them go. So their bullpen's probably torched. Milwaukee just hitting the hell out of the ball. Baltimore and Houston. Out of nowhere, Baltimore wins. This is where the teams aren't that bad and they're not that good. So you think Detroit's playing well or the Rams, but they're not. They're not that good. And they're not that bad. So keep that in mind. Rico Garcia for Baltimore, 0-0 with a 3.71. And Jason Alexander, 3-1 with the 5.02. Had a good game last time. But no, thank you. The White Sox, Kansas City, the White Sox are playing okay. Depends on their lineup when they put no hitters in the lineup. KC 61-61. Sean Burke 4.9, 4.26. Michael Lorenzen 5-8, 4.61. I will pass. Atlanta, Cleveland. Atlanta won like 1-0 yesterday. Joey Wentz 3-3 with the 5.03 against Slade Shoshone 5-5, 4.11. No, thank you. The Yankees at the Cardinals. Here we go. Yankees 157.5. Max Fried 12-5, 2.94. Sonny Gray 11-5, 4.06. We're going to go with the Yankees and Max Fried. 2 units. Thought about the under. Sonny Gray, good pitcher. The Yankees hit, so it's probably an under 2, but it's 7.5. Detroit and Minnesota. Detroit 118, 8.5. Casey Mize, 11-4, 3.50. Zebby Matthews, 3-4 with the 5.11. Casey Mize has been pitching shitty. The Tigers aren't hitting. Even though they got 5 runs on a terrible pitcher yesterday, and that was it. And they only scored 7 in the game. So they're having difficulty hitting. I think people have figured out how to pitch to them and, just keep the ball up and the curveballs, and they just strike out. Zebby Matthews, I believe, beat them last time. I am not going over as I don't trust either team can hit. So I'm just going to watch. Arizona, Colorado. Ryan Nelson, 6-3, 3.46 for Arizona. Chase Dollander, 2-9, 6.35 for Colorado. 11.5. No, thank you. Tampa Bay goes to the 49ers. 49ers 130-8. Adrian Hauser 6-2, 284. Justin Verlander 1-9, 453. This would have been the under of unders, but he's just not pitching well. I'm going to take Tampa Bay here for 3 units. I think they're on I think the Niners are on a losing streak. San Diego and the Dodgers. Dodgers 130-8. Dylan Cease 5-10, 452. Blake Snell 2-1 with the 237. I think this is an under. SD under 8, 2 units. So the streak's gone, but Blake Snell with a 2.37 ERA, and I remember him from Tampa, and Dylan Cease 4.52 ERA, but he had a shutout, I think, last game, so he's starting to get better. And our last game, LA against Oakland, California against Oakland. Oakland 130, 10.5. Tyler Anderson 2-7, 4.63. Luis Morales 0-0 with the 1.93. I never heard of him. He's probably a bullpen guy, so I'm going to pass on that. Let's look at streaks besides Milwaukee, and I think the Pirates are on a losing streak. American League, nothing, nothing, and a couple of 3-game streaks, but I don't care. National League, nothing. There you go. Milwaukee on a 13-game winning streak. And we got San Francisco on a 6-game losing streak. So the Pirates, the Pirates broke their streak yesterday. So it's really Milwaukee and the Niners. And I believe we bet against the Niners. The Niners are playing Tampa Bay. Yeah, so we took Tampa 3 units, and Milwaukee we took for 5 units. And you just keep betting Milwaukee. Don't get smart. Milwaukee's the play. It's an automatic. They're on a 13-game winning streak. We've won 8 in a row with them. You just keep going. You just keep betting them. There's no such thing due to lose. There's no such thing about any of that. They're winning. You go with the streak. You never go against the streak. I was playing craps, and my friend had the idea, well, I can just, if the numbers hit, I'll bet the don't pass. Or maybe we're playing roulette or back rack or something. He says, I'll if I keep betting that the streak will end, so I'll bet 50. And then if it keeps going, I'll bet 100. Then I'll bet 200. Then I'll bet 400. And I'm looking, why don't you just bet with the streak and just keep winning? Why would you keep doubling up? I think we're playing craps. And he's like, well, if they 7 out, I'll keep betting the pass line and, like that. And I was like, but that just bet the streak. So what are you going to do? Bet, $50,000 because you've lost the first 10 and you keep losing. And then I'll bet 50,000 to get it there. To break even. And that's why I just it was a shake your head moment. Like, no, bet the streak. You can only lose one bet on the streak. We bet Milwaukee, they can win 20 games in a row. Then they lose, and then you're off of them. Now you look for the next streak. You don't bet against them. Oh, they're due to lose. There is no such thing as due to lose. They are streaking. They are winning. Just like the 49ers, they are not due to win. They are losing. They've lost 6, 7 in a row. They're due to lose. They are not due to win. There's never a due to win. They're losing, so you bet them to lose. They're winning, you bet Milwaukee until they don't. It's as simple, but people like contrarian. Well, no, look at the odds. They're due. We don't care about the odds. The odds have nothing to do with this. This is not the odds. The odds on 100 flips of a quarter will come up 50 heads, 50 tails. But how you get there could be 20 heads in a row and 20 tails in a row. And yes, the odds are every one, but it doesn't in reality. So you keep playing the streak. When you're playing roulette, when you're playing craps, play the streak. If red's hitting, odds and evens. Be careful of these new roulettes with the third 0 now. So it's a 0, double 0, and a triple 0. And it fucks the odds. You're not getting odds on it. So the odds on hitting the green and not the odd and the even or the red and the black has has went down. So you're really getting screwed on even money because it's not even money anymore because there's 36 rolls on the roulette wheel, but now there's 39. So it's 13. So it's 18. It would have been 18 red, 18 black, and green. So it's really 18 out of 38. Now it's 18 out of 39. How is that even money? Yeah, so be careful playing those roulette wheels. Back racks should be the same. And craps, it's just too expensive to play if they want $25 a hand. That's just ridiculous. Or blackjack, $25, $50 a hand. Clearly, the casinos are clearly run by idiots who missed the whole concept of we want people to gamble. That's the mafia knew that. We want them to gamble and they'll lose. We don't want them to pay a lot for food in a hotel. That's going to chase them away. We want them to come in. $5 lobster. That's what got them in. All right. So that's baseball today. Let us look at NFL. We hit Atlanta and we lost Kansas City. So Atlanta, as a home dog, loses 23-20. So that's a W. KC, Mahomes didn't play, which is surprising. And Seattle played Darnold. It was 4-4. A lot with Drew Lock, who is from Missouri, who's a very good quarterback. I think he's a rookie. KC played a lot of Minshew. Not a lot of Zappy and no Mahomes. So Minshew didn't have a good day. And KC loses 33-16 by 17. We had 9.5. So we lost on that one. That's why we don't bet a lot on preseason. Today, Houston, 2.5, 39.5 over Carolina. Philly, 4.5, 37.5 over Cleveland. Minnesota, 1.5, 38 over New England. Indy, 6.40 over Green Bay. Miami, 1.5, 37.5 over Detroit. Oakland, 4, 41.5 over the 49ers. Tampa, 2.5, 38.5 over Pitt. Kyle Trask, very good quarterback. The Jets and the Giants. The Giants, 3.5, 39.5. San Diego and LA. San Diego, 6.5, 39. Baltimore, 1.5, 36.5. Denver, 3, 38.5. And then tomorrow we got Jacksonville, 3, 40.5 over New Orleans. And the Bears, 2.5, 41.5 over Buffalo. Our plays, we took Philly over 31.5 because they seem to score. Even with Tanner McGee, they didn't have any problem. And Green Bay plus 12, I just think it's too much. They're playing Indy. Where's Indy going to get offense? Maybe Riley Leonard, but Green Bay, I don't mind their backup quarterbacks. They've got Willis and Clifford. And in this offense, they'll both do okay. And Indy sucks. The next play, Detroit as a home dog to Miami. Why is Miami favorite? Okay, Detroit. Okay, they don't play golf. He's not that good anyway, but they're going to go with Allen and Hooker, and they're fine. Hooker is lost because of what they're changing these offensive coordinators, and Ben Johnson kind of went to golf, and golf said, I need play action pass. I can't stand in the pocket. And so they ran and played play action. Apparently Caleb can't do that. So Ben Johnson's in big trouble in Chicago, and Caleb's in big trouble also. I guess he threw him out of practice because he was so bad. You got nothing at Miami. Tag can't be playing, so you got who's the backups? Zach Wilson and Ewers. Detroit at home are going to play to win, and you got 7.5. I played it at 10. Let's see, San Diego and the Rams. San Diego 6.5. I like the Rams in 12.5. I like Benson. San Diego, I'm not being all in on Trey Lance. Sorry, ain't gonna work. He wasn't very good last week. He was good against the Lions, and then he wasn't very good last week. Baltimore, Dallas, Baltimore 1.5, 36.5. I like Baltimore on 4.5. They played to win. Cooper Rush is starting. He's very good. Now, again, how long is he going to play? But since Lamar's their starter, he'll probably get the first half. Dallas, Dak Prescott's terrible. And then Will Grier, who I like. Milton's terrible. I don't know when they get a guy like Milton who's terrible. He was terrible at Michigan, went to Tennessee, was terrible there. Oh, yeah, let's draft him because he'll be good in the pros, even though he sucked at Michigan and Tennessee. I don't understand this. Watch what's going on the field. Don't say, well, he's fast. He can run. I don't want that. I want a quarterback who can throw to my receivers. And our last one is Buffalo and the Bears. I'm going over 33.5 with Buffalo. So it's Baltimore, Buffalo in my last teaser. So it's Philly over, Green Bay plus 12. It's Detroit plus 10, the Rams plus 10. I think you can get 12. It's Baltimore plus 4.5, Buffalo over 33.5. Those are my teasers. Again, just very tiny bets. Just for action if you want. I'm not betting them. They're just very small based on it. I mean, last week I was 9-1, so we'll see what I do this week. But this is just bullshit. Basically, I'm betting on the backups and like Detroit, the coach wants to win at home. So that is preseason football. All right, let's check where our gold finished yesterday. And gold ended at 33.35, silver at 38.01. So silver is maintaining the 38. Again, this is paper options. This is not where the physical market is. The physical market is all brics, buying the shit out of it. I don't know how much the U.S. is buying, or they're buying to everybody's taking delivery on the options. So with them taking delivery, they have to pay it. So the U.S. is, my guess, is bringing in the gold to cover these options that they're doing. Why they keep shorting the stock and having somebody buy it, or shorting the option, and then they buy it, and then they say, I want delivery of the gold. It blows my mind. How stupid is JP Morgan? Seriously? I know they're crooked. I know they were in the Madoff's Ponzi scheme. They were part of it. They should have went to jail for that. Nope. We've got them in gold fixing. This is illegal what they're doing, trying to manipulate the gold price, but it's still hanging 33.35, so that's okay. So we will see. The stock market is totally fabricated. It's not anywhere near 44,000. Just a second. All right. Well, that's your gold price. Now, I showed you this very good video yesterday from Egon. So this one with his friend James Turk, very good, very Austrian, very much good gold. They do get into talking about stablecoin and the whole crypto world. So let's look at that again. I like to push that because People think that it's worth something, and I keep telling them it's not. It's not gonna. It's just nothing, right? So please be careful of that. So let's just watch just a few minutes. We won't watch the whole thing.
What's happening, and President Trump also changing regulations and laws to the extent that it can be used freely. I've always been intrigued by cryptocurrencies, and of course, some people have made fortunes with them. But to me, they're not the form of money that I can believe in, and I guess you're the same, because there is. It can't replace gold, and if it does, we'll have to wait a few thousand years to prove it, in my view. And it is certainly not. There has no intrinsic value. It could be a medium of exchange, but it's too volatile for that. Gold, for wealth preservation purposes, it doesn't replace gold at all. It can't. It has nothing to do with wealth preservation.
Yeah, so, that's absolutely right. That's why they're called cryptocurrencies. They're not crypto money.
Yeah,
only gold is money. It's a tangible asset.
Absolutely.
And when you use gold, if you go into a store or you go buy a car and you put gold coins down on the counter and you walk away with the car, there's no lingering obligation. The exchange is extinguished at the moment that the tangible asset exchanges for a tangible asset. If you use cryptocurrencies, if you use bank ledger currencies, there's a third party involved. In the case of the banks, they have to go through the clearing system. In the case of cryptos, you have to be dependent upon the electric grid and the internet, and a mathematical formula that supposedly we don't have the technology to break at the current, but maybe that technology will be developed in a month or a year or 10 years or something like that. Gold doesn't have that issues. And also, once gold is mined, it's mined forever. Unlike cryptocurrencies, which are constantly reliant upon electricity and the consumption of electricity. So, I mean, cryptocurrencies are an important development technologically, but they're a stepping stone, as I say, to something better, which I think ultimately is digital gold currency, where gold stays in the vault and it just moves digitally between the payer and the payee. So that instead of moving a coin across the counter, the gold stays in the vault and the payer on his mobile phone clicks it from himself, from his hoard or stack of gold to the payee stack of gold. The title changes instantaneously. So, but both gold and cryptocurrencies have advantages and disadvantages. Gold has been confiscated many times throughout history because it is a tangible asset and it is money. Cryptocurrencies, based on current technology, cannot be confiscated. So the weakness of gold is the strength of cryptocurrencies. But on the other hand, that weakness of gold, which is a tangible asset, is the weakness of cryptocurrencies. You can't hold a cryptocurrency in your hand. So
exactly, and although they pretend that there is a Bitcoin currency, always use it looks like a gold coin, really. I mean, and the public believes that that's the way Bitcoin looks, like a fake gold coin.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, but it all depends on the code, and it all depends on the math. And right now, the math is not breakable. But who knows whether that's going to be true, in the future.
But isn't there a risk? I see Bitcoin now as a similar risk to any mania, whether it's tulipomania or whether it's silver in the 1980s with the Hunt brothers, because you have massive manipulation of the price and massive leverage. Especially this micro strategies, it was called. They're buying and borrowing money, buying and leveraging bitcoins to a massive extent. And to me, that is artificially keeping the price up. To me, this Bitcoin is a market for buyers, but not a market for sellers. And I see the Bitcoin price very much going hand in hand with the Nasdaq price. And I think the Nasdaq, like the other stock markets, are now getting near a turn, which we've said this before. You and I, we thought it would happen earlier, but I see now again we're in a period when there's a very high risk that we will get this major downturn in all markets, stock markets, currency markets, and obviously other asset markets. Bond market, in my view, is going to collapse totally over coming years.
I agree completely on the bond market. I think you want to be out of fiat currencies or anything related to an asset where you're earning interest income based on fiat currencies, because the purchasing power that you're using now to acquire that asset is never going to be returned to you in full, even if interest rates go up in the future. But with regard to the stock market, I agree that Bitcoin has been trading like the Nasdaq, and I think it probably. Well, first of all, let me go back. I for many, many years, going back to 2013, I had always felt that Bitcoin, because I've been involved with Bitcoin from the very beginning, Bitcoin had the potential to go to 100,000. I've said that a number of times in interviews over the years. Now that we're over 100,000, I think Bitcoin still has the potential to go much higher. Because if you look at the total amount of purchasing power in the world, represented by currencies, represented by the purchasing power embedded in gold, the purchasing power embedded in silver, the amount embedded in cryptocurrencies, its market cap, in other words, is still relatively small compared to the total amount of purchasing power. And if we do get a fiat currency scare, where people want to get their wealth, their purchasing power out of fiat currencies into something safe, obviously they're going to go to gold and silver too. But they may also go to cryptocurrencies, particularly the younger generations who don't really understand the advantages and the beauty of owning tangible assets like gold and silver. So I think there is still more upside potential in the price of the cryptocurrencies relative in fiat currency terms. And by that logic, I think there's also more upside potential in the stock market, assuming central banks don't impose a liquidity squeeze, what the Federal Reserve seems to be doing here in the States by reducing the size of its balance sheet. Even though the debt is growing in this country, and the M2 is not growing at the high rates that it had been previously. So there is a bit of a liquidity squeeze going on in the country, and that could ultimately bring stocks down. But remember, it's a market of stocks, not a stock market. Technology might get hit, but those stocks that are involved in tangible assets could continue going higher if the fiat currency continues to weaken or it falls. And I always like to use again the example of owning Mercedes-Benz in 1920 before the German hyperinflation. If you own Reichsmarks after the hyperinflation, you got wiped out. You didn't own anything. But if you own Mercedes-Benz after the hyperinflation, you still own Mercedes-Benz. As long as the management of the company knows how to deal with and respond to the problems of a hyperinflation, you're better off owning equities than you are owning a fiat currency. But the question is, you have to have an equity that makes sense. And these are basically ones that are involved in tangible assets, have minimum exposure to fiat currency, and produce a product that people want. So you want to stay basically out of the banking system, which I think the Nasdaq Bank Index has been giving us a warning now for quite some time. And it's
that's why we buy gold, is for the reasons you just said, because in the fiat currency, you'll be wiped out. Yeah, if you're in Mercedes and they know what to do, and they bought gold, for example, then you're okay. But none of these companies in the U.S. are smart enough to buy gold. So the equities will get wiped out, mostly because of people pulling their money out of the U.S. because the paper fiat will be worthless, and they'll want to get it out of it, and they'll want to buy gold in their country, Germany, the UK, Poland, Switzerland. Whoever has money in our stock market will want to pull it out and get it into their own money, understanding the dollar's worthless. So once they realize the fiat's worthless, So what he's saying is, yeah, well, if Mercedes was smart enough to know how to handle the Fiat race mark, then you'd be better off there. But that's the key to it. So that's why we're in gold and silver. So there's your thing. It's being manipulated by Saylor and Trump and whoever else. It's in a bubble. It's going to crash. The cryptocurrencies, the stable coins, you don't want anything to do with them. That's why you go to gold and silver. It's really your only out, right? It's real money that can't be printed. And that's what I've been saying for 5 years. You can't print it, so you can't inflate it, so it can't lose its value. And in fact, it has to go up because the dollar, if it's tied to dollars, the dollar's going down. So the gold has to go up. I'm saying also brics is also buying it. So the demand, the double header is there's huge demand for it. So the price will go up because of the demand, as well as the fact that dollar's going out. So what everybody's saying is, well, the dollar's losing value, gold goes up. I don't disagree with that, but because of these options and COMEX, you're not getting the real price of the gold either. So yes, it will go up and it'll keep going up between the dollar collapsing and the BRICS countries buying the shit out of gold, and they're going to keep buying it because they're going to trade with it, and they're going to want to, it's all good because they know it's all going up. So if I can buy it at 3,000 and it's worth 10 or 20,000, keep buying. Like silver, I can buy silver at $40 an ounce. Keep buying it. Why would I stop? All right, let's see what else happened. Trump Putin joint press conference. Not a lot there. We didn't think it would end. I'll show you that one. Douglas McGregor, American Empire, the final days. Yes, we know it's collapsing. 32 nations want to join BRICS. I didn't get a list of the nations. They're not important. It's that 32 more. I know it was going up to 40. I showed you that video where now 40 BRICS will be 40 nations. Now here's another 32. So I guess that'll be 72 in BRICS. And basically everybody will get into BRICS because anybody with a brain in finance will obviously knows gold's better than fiat. And they want to trade with BRICS because they're trading gold and gold. Like Saudi Arabia wants to trade with China for oil because they can get gold for their oil, and that's what they want. So that's the whole point of joining BRICS, because with the U.S., you get bullied by these idiots. Do this or else, or we'll kill your president. We'll have a regime change. It's all bullshit, right? It's just fantasy. So who wants to be on the bullies team? I want to be on the other team, the good guys team. So that's it. So let's look at this Trump Putin, just to get a little flavor. Really, it was they weren't going to walk away and go, okay, now we have peace, the war's over. That's not happening. All right, let's see this. So that was a very good scam. I only need. It's a very good Egon one.
President Trump and President Putin are now recovering from the meeting that they had earlier today. We finally had the big meeting. We've been.
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah.
Are you done?
About 10 minutes.
All right, and then you're gonna come?
Yeah. 10
All
minutes.
right, I'm just waiting for you up here. Okay.
Okay, I'll be there soon.
All right, bye.
Sorry about that.
Meeting that they had earlier today, we finally had the big meeting. We've been looking forward to what's going to happen when Trump and Putin themselves get together and meet. We've been speculating on all kinds of things. Well, now we have some actual commentary from the two to try to figure out what actually did happen. Now, there's not a whole lot of answers because neither men took any question during the press conference. But Trump had said before this thing started that if it goes short, if it's quick, like I'll know within 2 minutes, he said, if there's going to be a productive meeting or not. And he said, if it's short, then I'm just going to give a solo press conference. But if it goes longer and it's a joint press conference, then that's going to be a good sign. Well, that's what happened. It was 3 hours was the meeting that they had together. And the two sides did have a joint press conference. Both men made a short commentary. wasn't a whole lot by either, but there were some things that were said, and I think that we can at least have an educated guess as to what may have been happening behind the scenes, and can give you a kind of a decent idea about what may be coming next. Now, as you're seeing there on the screen, those were some of the visuals that happened before the meeting began. You had this really lengthy red carpet. It was kind of interesting. This is on a U.S. Air Force base in Alaska, and Putin seemed really happy at the beginning. In fact, the two men looked like almost like old buddies kind of getting together, and I know that's not going to play well in Ukraine. He's certainly Trump is going to be pillared in many outlets in the United States, because he always has that reputation of cozying up to dictators, etc. But listen, I mean, we just got to say this right off the top. If you want to hold up the sample of what not to do, look to the Biden administration. They refused ever from the time the war began until he left office to even talk to Putin, let alone even try to find a negotiated settlement. And people can say Trump is talking to dictators, he's whatever term you want to use, but he is talking, and he's making us, for the first time since this war broke out, to actually have a legitimate shot at having it ended. Now, we'll see if that ends up being successful or not. But President Trump deserves credit for giving it his very best, because he is literally the only Western leader on the planet that is actively trying to bring the war to an end. And I can just tell you from some sources I have in Ukraine, whatever Zelensky may say at the official level, and certainly many of the others in Ukraine that do want the war to continue on and don't want to give in to anything, there are a significant number of people at all levels, from the government officials all the way down to regular people, that just want the death and destruction in the war to end. So I think that privately a lot of them will be hopeful, but as we're going to see, it's a little too early for celebration. It's a little too early to say anything definitive from this, but it is a chance to say something. So let's take a look first. We're going to look at a number of things that Vladimir Putin said, and then we're going to look at what President Trump had to say and see if we can figure out where it's going next. First of all, President Putin said, I think one of the most important things of this whole press conference, it's still the root causes.
We're convinced that in order to make the settlement lasting and long-term, we need to eliminate all the primary roots, the primary causes of that conflict. And we've said it multiple times, to consider all legitimate concerns of Russia and to reinstate a just balance of security in Europe and in the world on the whole. And I agree with President Trump, as he has said today, that naturally the security of Ukraine should be ensured as well. Naturally, we are prepared to work on that. I would like to hope that the agreement that we've reached together will help us bring closer that goal and will pave the path towards peace in Ukraine. We expect that Kiev and European capitals will perceive that constructively, and that they won't throw a wrench in the works. They will not make any attempts to use some backroom dealings to conduct provocations to torpedo the nascent progress.
Okay, a lot to unpack right there. Putin starts off by saying, listen, we're looking for a negotiated end. We do want this war to come to an end. And we're looking for an end state that everybody has a chance for security, whether that's the United States, it's Russia, of course, Europe, he specifies. He even says, yes, it even includes Ukraine. So whatever end state Ukraine's going to end up looking in, he says, look, we want a deal to where everybody has security, i.e., we're not looking to just get Ukraine off the map here so we can come roll into the West and then going after the next war. Now, of course, people will say, well, of course he's going to say that. He's just going to say whatever he needs to in order to, to trick us all, etc. Nobody has to get tricked here. Nobody is going to get tricked here. Let me just be blunt on that. You already see Europe's in the midst of a rebuilding and a rearmament program. You've seen the NATO Secretary Mark Rutte talking about how we've got to get ready quick. We've got to start. Everybody's got to spend up to 5% of GDP. None of that is going to change. Nobody's going to be. It's not like as though if peace breaks out in Ukraine that everybody in NATO is going to go, oh, okay, cool. We don't have to spend any more money. Then we can go back to the way it was. They're not going to do that. In fact, no one's going to trust Putin. No one should trust Putin. Nobody in the West should trust their national security to Putin saying something nice. Let's be clear about that. This is not about trusting anything, but this is about words do matter, and words and actions matter more. And when you see the Russians saying, look, we're looking to get this thing over with And we're looking for an architecture that can have the thing so that everybody can live in peace. And as you're going to see subsequent comments he said in a minute, he puts even more action behind that, because one of the big elements of his travel party were business people. This is not just a foreign policy, foreign affairs, Secretary of State kind of thing get together and like military people, etc. They included a lot of business people because they're looking beyond this, something that's going to actually put action behind the words that he's looking for peace and security for them. That's number one. Second thing he also said in that one there is that, look, we have an agreement. So he seems to imply that at least tentatively between Trump and Putin, he said that we have an agreement. And then he's concerned that those in Ukraine and in Europe may try and sabotage this and undercut it. And we're going to see from some of the comments Trump makes, that's probably not an unreasonable concern that he may have, but that is a concern that he has. So he's looking for an end to the war negotiation. It's going to have the root causes. So don't think that this is going to be pretty for the Ukraine side. Nothing basically has changed since June of 2024, when Putin very clearly articulated exactly what it was going to take. It was reiterated at the second Istanbul meeting in July, where he had those 12-point peace plans. None of that, I'm sure, has changed. He kind of implied here, this is like we've been saying a lot. You had Sergei Lavrov saying, we're coming in to talk, and we've already been talking about this before. There's nothing new in what we're going to be talking about. So all of those terms that many in Ukraine will not like, Zelensky will hate, Europeans will hate, I got it. But that's still better than ignoring all of that and continuing to fight for the reasons that I pointed out, because that's the other thing Russia has always said, and we can only assume that it's still true. If they don't get the diplomatic solution that they're looking for here, then they'll simply continue to fight until they conquer it, however long that may take. So that was the first part there. Then and Putin says, again, he says, okay, words are important too, but you got to come through with the action.
The well-wishing and trustworthy tone of our conversation, it's important that both sides are result-oriented, and we see that the president of the U.S. has a very clear idea of what he would like to achieve. He sincerely cares about prosperity of his nation. Still, he understands that Russia has its own national interests. I expect that today's agreements will be the starting point, not only for the solution of the Ukrainian issue, but also will help us bring back business-like and pragmatic relations between Russia and the U.S.
So, like we've been talking in the last several days, the Russians are looking beyond this war. Actually, we've been talking about this for months. Russia's not just looking to, quote, conquer Ukraine. They're looking to have a diplomatic end to this, and they're looking specifically with the United States, ever since Trump came into office, about resetting relations, because Russia is going to exist no matter what. However this war comes to an end.
This is all business. This is a business meeting. Trump wants to make money, sell his gas, sell his oil, sell his diamond, or Putin. Trump wants to do whatever and have business with Russia and buy their oil or gold, whatever it is. So this is strictly, is this about peace? Well, it might be, but it's about business. As you said, all the business leaders were there, not the Secretary of State and all that shit. So anyway, a little bit more.
But whether soon, later, medium, whether through negotiations or through battling it out on the battlefield, Russia's still going to be there. America's still going to be there. Europe's still going to be there. So he's looking beyond this and saying, hey, we've got to figure out how to live and do something that's pragmatic and positive for both sides. It's also important, let me just point out there, because that last image, you can see it pretty quick when the camera zoomed back, is it says up there, pursuing peace, right? So that shows you that's what the Americans set up. This is on our soil here. So that is Trump's indication, her preference. He wants this to have a peaceful resolution. He's not looking to continue on and to fight the war. Putin himself is looking to have peace and to have things resolved so that the whole continent, and to include the United States as well, can at least get into some stability. Nobody has any fantasies about everybody's going to be best friends, and that the Europeans and the Ukrainians and the Russians and the Americans, everybody's going to be fine after this. They can be, over time, we can get back into a stable relationship, something that's useful and healthy and has win-win opportunities and gets the possibility of nuclear war off the table. That should animate everything that we're doing here. And hopefully, God willing, we'll get enough leaders in the West that can acknowledge the fundamentals that the war can never be won by the Ukraine side, and the longer it goes, the more of them will die and the more land they'll lose, and the worse the terms will eventually be. That should be crystal clear by now, and it seems that Putin and Trump recognize that. That's helpful. So let's go on. Now, in terms of looking beyond, and I told you a lot of the President Putin's travel party included businessmen. He spoke specifically about the business opportunities.
We have a lot of dimensions for joint work. It is clear that U.S. and Russian investment and business potential offer each other so much in trade, digital, high-tech, and in space exploration.
So the bottom line here is Ukraine knows they lost, and Trump's like, hey, let's have peace and we can do business because we can't sell any more weapons. So the defense contractors can't sell anything else. Nobody's got money to buy them. So Trump's going, oh, we can buy all this technology and all this other stuff with Russia. Oh, let's do business. At the end, Trump wants to make money and do his little stable coins and make $2 billion. That's the kind of guy we're doing. We're not doing we're not having a leader here. We're having just a scumbag president who's just looking after himself. Oh, I'll do stable coins. They're not going to help anybody except for him. And he's probably dumping them now as they went into law, just like he dumped the Trump coin that went out. It's funny, when I go buy silver, I'll see these Trump coins and I won't buy them on purpose. I go, well, if somebody doesn't like Trump, I can't sell them. So I just stick with the Buffaloes and the normal silvers that I can get. I'm going to have to go get Alyssa, so I will be back either later or we'll pick this up tomorrow with the American Empire. We'll look at that. It's collapsing. We already know it's really the fiat dollar's worthless. So it all comes back to this. You can't print it to death and then it has no value. And the way out is gold. So it's as simple as that. All right, I'm going to get going then. Have a wonderful day. You've got your baseball picks. You've got your preseason football picks. Be very careful. Do not bet a lot on these. These are very difficult. Regular season, we can bet. We know who to bet and how, and we win a lot regular season. Preseason, I'm just kind of throwing stuff out there. So don't bet a lot. No, oh, he lost. Yeah, I'm not, we're betting second and third stringers. The only one I like is Tampa's Kyle Trask, and the Rams, I like Stenson Benson and some of the other teams. But that's it. Anyway, I don't know why Penix isn't playing. He should be out there, but whatever. And Mahomes threw one pass. Really? So Mahomes isn't playing in the preseason anymore? So anyway, that's it. We'll see if Joe Burrow plays today. Maybe, maybe not. All right. Well, have a good day. www.teaserking.com. All right. Take care, everybody.